Today on the podcast, you will hear my interview with Kim Butler, financial strategist, author, and podcaster. My stated mission is to help musicians thrive in their creative careers. What does thriving mean? It doesn't necessarily mean having unlimited buckets full of money, but it almost certainly means living comfortably within your means, able to support yourself, and able to do work that fulfills you and lights you up. It was a real pleasure for me today to speak to an actual financial strategist and hear her take on how we can be living better, taking care of ourselves better, being more prosperous. I'm not sure that I agreed with every single thing she said, but I found her fascinating. I really enjoyed this conversation, and I hope that you will too. Kim Butler, welcome to Crushing Classical.
Thank you, Jennet. So fun to be here.
I am excited to speak with you. I love talking about money. I talk about it all the time with my clients and sometimes on this podcast even, but I talk about it largely in the context of like, how can we help musicians to make more money so that they can thrive in their creative careers? And I think you come at it from a different angle. Would you start, please, by introducing yourself to the people? Give us just a little bit of the story that leads us to where you are now, and then let's talk.
Absolutely. Well, I will start at fourth grade, but I'll go fast because my parents bought me a milk cow, like a real dairy cow that I milked by hand and sold the milk to church members and neighbors, etc. And I did that from the fourth grade to the 12th grade. And because of that, I dealt with a lot of money. I also showed in 4-H. I won a lot of awards throughout that time. I bought and sold registered Holstein cows. They're the black and white kinds that most people think about when they think dairy cows. And so, again, I had a lot of money. I had record keeping responsibilities for 4-H, et cetera, et cetera. And because of that, even though I took a hiatus, went to a 4-year school for college, I literally was dealing with money all the time. Right out of school, worked for a bank for a few years, saw all kinds of things. I happened to be in a very ritzy area in Scottsdale, Arizona. And so I saw the trust department and the loans and everything. And then I left that and started helping people in what we now call financial planning. And I went through about 5 years of doing typical financial planning, this is pre-internet, but it's what you think of when you go to the internet and you say, here's what do I do? And the internet spits back, or the calculator or the computer spits back a bunch of stuff. Mm-hmm. Then had a little bit of crisis of confidence because I was handing out these financial plans. Again, this is pre-internet. They were printed. They were for color. And I'm thinking, no, this is not right. The math is right. Musicians will appreciate this, right? The notes on the page look okay, but the harmony is way off. And what I mean by that is that I knew that the quote plans were not based in reality on what was actually going to happen with money in these people's lives. So I'm 28 or 9 at this point, and I start interviewing everybody I could get my hands on. The internet was just coming into play, and I found a better way. And it was through a compilation of things, but I have since named that way, and it's called prosperity economics. And we'll get into a chat about that. But I want to finish my introduction with 2 things. One, a little personal note. I played the tuba from 6th grade to 12th grade. So as all of your listeners know, but just in case anybody's popping on this podcast that doesn't know, the tuba is the long, sort of horizontal, usually gold, maybe silver, metal monster of a trumpet looking thing that you put in your lap. And most of the time, sometimes you hold it. And then I also played the sousaphone, which is what people associate with marching bands, which is the big, typically styrofoam. Mine was light blue because of school colors, right? Blah. So, but the reason that I bring it up is that it's evidence of my contrarianism. So I walked into band class as a sixth grader, all my little friends played what? The flute and the clarinet, right? My band teacher was a male, age, 50, whatever, probably 6'5", 350 pounds, and
Mhm.
he played the tuba. And so I thought that was a good idea, completely opposite of all my friends. And so I bring that point up because of the space of contrarianism, not from an investment standpoint per se, just I'm just often very willing to go against the grain. And then the second thing I want to bring up before I'll shut up is that it is so important that we learn how to keep our money. I love that you are helping people make money. And my role is to help people keep money.
That is so inspiring to hear. I love the strain of contrarianism because that's not what I think of when I think about financial people. I think about, very conservative suit and tie. Um, you must invest in these very conservative ways. That's what I think of. Um, so I would love to hear before like more about how it could be that the math is right in these financial plans that you're handing out, but it's not going to align with reality. What do you mean by that?
Yep. It all comes back to one word. And I'm not a swear person, but I'm still going to say this word this way because we all get it. And it's the word assume. ASSUME. And when you break it up, okay, hopefully I don't have to repeat that because that's what assumptions do is they cause us to have some faith in math that got printed on a piece of paper. So for example, if you invest X dollars at a percentage rate, 5, 6, 7, 10%, whatever that you're assuming, and your taxes are X and your inflation is Y, like the letter Y,
Mhm.
then ABCDEFG will equal XYZ. The math is right. However, because of those assumptions, it has nothing to do with reality. Let's start at the beginning. First of all, you don't know that you can invest that same amount every single time. Second of all, you have no idea what interest rates are going to be. And here's a challenging one for the math nerds out there. Average is not actual. Okay, now we know in math that if you have two numbers and you add them together and you divide by two, then you get an average, right? That's how you calculate averages. And there's absolute accuracy in that math. But money, if it went through those same gyrations, would not be the same amount as the mathematical average. So average is not actual. And because of that, it causes these financial plans to be so dead wrong. And then, of course, you have assumptions about taxes. Like what? We have a crystal ball. And then assumptions about inflation. I mean, we are so off the rails in terms of reality. And that math actually applying to our money and consequently our lives. Way off the rails.
So, can I get just a little more clarity on what you said that like the average, and I assume you mean like the stock market goes up at an average of 8 to 10% a year, or blah 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 blah. But what you mean about the reality is that like some years it actually tanks, and depending on when you get in versus when you get out, your results may vary. Am I getting that correct?
Precisely. And they may vary by millions.
Alarming. Um, and of course, that is a factor that is beyond any of our control, right? Like
Right?
no one has control over the interest rates, what are the taxes going to do, what is happening. But there is something that you said in there that we can take agency over. You said you don't know how much you don't know you can invest the same amount every month or every year. And, true, because income fluctuates and we're sort of all over the place. But um, I don't know, a lot of musicians that I've spoken to live in sort of this scarcity world where sometimes the magical big gig shows up and sometimes it doesn't. And some people struggle to handle that variability of income and struggle to think that they're allowed to invest or should be investing, because like it's so wild. You don't know if you can even make rent next month. Why, how dare you put your money somewhere? Can you speak to that?
Absolutely. I have one suggestion. I repeat it all the time. It's kind of shockingly simple. And it has nothing to do with investments, but it will set somebody up for financial success. And to me, financial success just means that we have peace of mind over our money and we can do what we want to do. Maybe not everything, but we can live our lives with some semblance of normalcy plus opportunity, right? There's one thing, and that is to stop putting your earned income into your checking account. Okay. Stop putting your earned income into your checking account where you pay your bills. Because, especially many people today, we have numerous jobs, right? We have gigs, we have part time, we have full time, we have maybe a spouse that earns money, we have kids that are throwing money in the family pot, whatever. If all that money goes into our checking account, it's going to get spent. We spend the money that's in our checking account. We pay the bills, we go out to eat, we see money in there, we go on vacations, we do extra stuff because the money is in there. And if instead of putting our earned income into our checking account, we will go to the same bank. You can use a special app. You can use your own credit union. You can reach out to me for help. It really doesn't matter where at the beginning. But if you will just insert a reservoir between the earned income and that regular checking account, same one that you're going to use and keep using, and you put the income in the reservoir, and then you ask the reservoir to automatically send your checking account, same one you've been using, money once a month, maybe twice a month, however you like to pay your bills, then you will make about, every way I've sliced and diced the numbers for just sort of a normal family in America, you'll make about a $2 million difference over 30 years. Just normal, short, really, working lifetime, because musicians don't retire. What a dumb idea. You love what you do, right? Retirement's a dumb idea to begin with, but so let's say it's over a 40 or a 50 or a 60 or a 70-year career. We're talking $2, $3, $4 million of difference just because you stopped putting your earned income in your checking account.
So, what I'm hearing is, if the earned income, like here is the check from this gig that I just did, it shows up in a different account, my savings
Yep,
account, a high yield savings account, even
sure.
instead, and it's a little bit more than what I need for half of my month of expenses, then I can sweep out to myself a paycheck. I'm going to put that in quotes because we're just
Yep,
making it up, but of an appropriate budgeted amount every month into my checking account that then I spend. And meanwhile, the leftover little tiny bit gets to sit in that high yield whatever.
yep.
And from there, as the cushion builds, we can be investing and we can be like sort of predicting what exists.
Precisely. And the peace of mind that creates, and the momentum and motivation that it provides, is astounding. And it doesn't matter in the first 10 years what interest rate you're earning on that money. So it can be a high yield savings account if that floats your boat, but it really doesn't matter what interest rate you're earning on that money. What matters is that disconnect from the earned income to the expenses, and even more important for somebody that has variable income. Because to create a space where you have a little bit of extra in that reservoir, and without a shadow of a doubt that your basic bills are handled every single month, is so freeing, so that you can now go really focus on your talent and your gift and the good that you're doing out in the world, and not have to have this niggling feeling pulling on you all the time of, how am I going to pay the bills this month?
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing. So clear, so helpful. Um, let's talk about, like, that's sort of an immediate personal finance. Here is how we're going to handle our variable income. Oh, and I don't think you said explicitly, but I would like to say that if you hit a week, a month where you don't have work, where you have COVID and you have to sub out of a thing, where whatever, the income doesn't happen. That's what the cushion is for,
Yeah,
that is inside that account. So it sort of takes care of all of that. Amazing.
that's right.
Um, how do we get more advanced than that? And how do we, this is going to sound strange, but how do we feel like we have permission to get more advanced than that? I feel like
Yeah.
I've spoken to a lot of people who are like, well, I mean, I should be investing. I hear I should be investing, but like, what if I need the money, and what if, and how?
Yep. So the first thing that I recommend after the reservoir account and that structure is in place is to define for yourself and your family, which might be two different numbers, your emergency fund. Okay, so let's just say that you're a young person and it's $5,000, right? That's enough. Like you have a little bit of rent, you have, a few bills, $5,000 will do it. Great. Set that number. If it's a family, it might be $100,000. Oprah Winfrey has publicly stated her emergency fund is $7 million, right? Like it's
Just
all relative.
in case of emergency.
Yeah, all relative. So set your emergency fund. Most people have a number in the back of their head, but they've never really put it on paper or put it out there or talked with their family about it, which is crazy because then we're constantly thinking about what if emergencies? What if? And you asked such a great question. What can we do to free our minds and give ourselves permission to pursue opportunities? Now, you may have said pursue investments, but I'm going to shift that language. So,
Right.
Step 1, separate out income. Step 2, define your emergency account, fund it, right? Which you may already have it funded, or maybe it'll take a few months or a few years, whatever. Then cross it off the list so you stop thinking about emergencies. And then the third is to, now that our emergency fund is handled, start to pursue opportunities. Well, what might our opportunities be? Opportunities could be another level of designation within your own skill set. It could be, a higher education. It could be a marketing program. It could be a book that you're going to write like you have.
Mm-hmm.
I have 11 books on Amazon, so you keep going, girl.
Fantastic. Yes.
It could be all kinds of different opportunities that pursue your passions and your capabilities and your skills and the God-given talent that was provided to you. And it could also be the more typical investments, which, that list is wide open. And in today's world, you can so easily do investments for 25 a month or 50 a month or 1,000 a month or whatever it is. We don't have to have this big amount of money to invest. So if you're really, really interested in investments, then find some investments that you could do on a small monthly amount. Go slow, start small so you don't lose the money. But let's broaden the word invest as a verb and look at it as opportunities as a noun. So I guess I'm shifting up the English a bit, but opportunities are what we should be seeking. And who knows what there's going to come our way if we have money available for them.
I love this. And like, it is not the advice that I expected from a financial strategist. It would be more the advice that I would expect from me, to like take a look at the resources that you have available, the cushion that is within your account, and consider what you actually want and what you actually need. And is it more education? Is it to be able to take a step back from your teaching studio so that your brain isn't fried all the time, so that you can like actually think and create and build? Is it hiring a coach? Is it hiring is it joining a educational program? Or is it investing? And like, that's fantastic. That was really interesting to hear.
Thank you.
I would also wonder about, so I heard you say that once you decide like what your emergency fund needs to be to like keep you safe in case of emergency, build it, fund it, and then you have flexibility. And maybe I want to push a little on that. Like, for example, I'm aware that I am supposed to have a 6 to 12 month emergency fund, supposed to, I'm putting in quotes. And sometimes we do. And but in reality, it can fluctuate a little bit because emergencies actually do happen.
Absolutely.
And in reality, we are not currently at exactly that number. It might be more like 2.5 to 3 months. Um, and I have so many different income streams that I'm not especially worried that any one thing is going to sink me anytime soon. And so yes, we are definitely building that back up, but we're also living our life now. And uh, I am paying for coaching, and I pay for, and I just bought myself a nice new fountain pen as a little celebration. Like, I buy things. And I guess I wonder your take on this, like, how strict must we be to be in financial compliance?
Yeah. So only you can decide for your individual situation. And then I do recommend, if you're married, that you get that person's perspective also. And so maybe you have a joint number or maybe you don't, but only you can define what is the right emergency amount for you. And so if it's 2 months, then fund it for 2 months and cross it off the list. And who cares what the rules of thumb are? Now, if in your heart you know that 6 months would help you sleep at night and feel better, then get after getting it funded so that you can cross it off the list and be free to go do all of the things that you want to do. Now, as it relates to the other side of the money, which is typically like saving for retirement, the long term stuff or investing, that I absolutely believe can be handled another day. Because, first of all, us humans that are alive today are going to be living well past 100. I mean, if you're 20 to 30 years old today, you need to be thinking about living to 110, 120, 130. If you're more in your 50s and 60s, you're absolutely going to live to 90, 100. I mean, that's going to be so normal. And very sadly, in our society, age 65 was chosen in the 1930s, and it was never moved forward with life expectancy. If that had happened, then the right number is age 87. Age 87. That means that us human beings should really be working until we're in our mid 80s. Now, that may sound absolutely out of left field, but if you just step back and think about it for a minute, when age 65 was chosen, people died when they were 66 and 67 and 68. The whole Social Security thing was never meant to pay out for as many years as it does, et cetera, et cetera. I've got family members. My dad still helps students at Oregon State University in their teaching programs as an 84-year-old. And my mother-in-law is in her mid 80s. She works part-time out of her house. I'm not saying you have to put in the 60-hour salaried jobs, work like a dog kind of work, but keep working. Well, if that's the case, then that just takes the whole retirement. Oh my gosh, I've got to save for retirement thing. I can't buy this fountain pen because I've got to save for retirement, right?
Mm-hmm.
Cross that off your list. Get that out the door, because you're going to be so much better as a human if you're present and alive and capable and doing things you enjoy. And if you have children, you're spending more time with them and not worrying about retirement. Yeah, I mean, if you can save some, great, but save and then invest, as stated, two totally different things. But the focus on today and life and living and enjoying can absolutely take precedence when you start to see your life in a span of so many more years of work and so many more years of life. You just have a completely different perspective on things. And it's one I would encourage people to adopt.
Fascinating. Um, I feel like I have feelings about what you just said. Can I, may I express them?
Please do.
Like, thing one, I have no intention of retiring at 65. Like, I like the things that I do too much, but also my career has been sort of in a constant pivot. I'm constantly adding new income streams, letting things go. So I also don't imagine myself playing the oboe in my same orchestra job after I'm 65 or longer. And there is, for musicians, of course, a physical limitation that can come in with age. I love the idea that 87 is a more appropriate retirement age, and yet I look at 87-year-olds that I know, and I'm like, "This person should not be working in any way." Like, this person is not, um, either has earned a sit down, or this person is no longer, like, cognitively capable of being of service in that way. And so I have some reactions to what you just said.
So let me tell you a story about a actor. I don't know the person's age, but this is a verifiable story. And let's just say he was in his 80s. He was quite elderly. And he would hobble to the backstage every night for his play on Broadway. And when his cue came, he would go front stage and perform incredibly as if his body was under 50 and he had all of his skills and capabilities physically as well as vocally to do his job. And then he would go back behind the stage and have to hobble back off. Okay, so it's interesting. Yes, we have a societal construct that says, and you used a really interesting word, we work and then we've earned the right to not work. Oh, really? Well, I believe that Father, Mother, God gave us all skills and talents to put forth into the world, and that it is our job to use them. And we all know people that are retired and frankly have died, just nobody told their bodies or their brains, right? Like they're just sort of existing. Now, I'm not speaking about somebody that's mentally ill or physically completely unable. I'm speaking to the couch potatoes that sit all day, stare at the TV, don't turn their brains on, don't turn their bodies on. That is not life. And so to me, find whatever it is that you want to do. And absolutely that's going to change. And aren't you and I so glad that we live in a world today where it's totally cool to change jobs every 6 months, right?
Yes.
Like that's an okay thing. So keep trying, keep finding things, keep shifting, keep being open-minded, keep loving, keep learning, keep growing, keep serving. Do that, and all the other stuff will take care of itself.
It is such a beautiful and a rosy concept, and as a born optimist, I want to be right on board with you, and I'm hearing, like, um, the reactions that people may have sort of in my head. And one is, but Kim, I'm working so hard right now just to like keep the rent paid and just to keep food on the table. And like, there's not enough work. There's not enough money. And you're telling me now that I need to do this forever.
Yeah, it's a rough message occasionally. And so my question back would be, do you enjoy your work or aspects of your work? And hopefully the answer is yes, at least aspects. I mean, I'm not asking for 100%. Nobody has 100%. But if you can enjoy at least 80% of your work, then focus on that and the good that is there and bring in that optimism or dig it out, right? Sometimes we have to dig for the optimism that's there. And if you don't enjoy your work, then please move everything possible aside and find a space where you can enjoy serving and love your work and be happy in the space that you are. And that's the pivotal point right there, is that sometimes in order to find a space that you truly love, you have to bring a little more like to the space that you're already in, right? So if you're feeling that sense of absolute overwhelm and, oh my gosh, I could never do this, then better start bringing in the gratitude. You know, find the things that you can be grateful for, even the tiny little things. Find the things that you can turn from hate to like and like to love, and keep loving and keep loving and keep loving. And either the job itself will shift or something else will shift so that new opportunities can be pursued. they're not going to happen if you are negative and frustrated and, miserable to be around. And I get it. I mean, we have a puppy right now. I would like to kill the thing sometimes, right? I mean, it's so frustrating, but amazing love hate relationship. Okay. Well, when it ticks me off to no end, I have a choice. I can either remain mad and make myself miserable for the next 2 hours, or I can get it together and be grateful that we even got to buy a puppy. Not everybody gets to do that, right? That we get to have a puppy. Not everybody gets to do that. Some
Mhm,
people don't want to, but you get my point. It's
mhm.
like, just turn it around. And that is an adult skill that us human beings have. And if we've forgotten it, we can get it back.
Woo, woo. The message that I'm hearing is find a way to love the thing you're doing. And the message that I would add on top is there are easier ways to make a living than music. If you are not happy doing what you're doing,
Yeah.
you don't have to. And like all things are possible. You just have to decide. That's been my message to people for a long time.
Yep. Very well said.
Ooh, fascinating. You used the phrase earlier on prosperity economics, and I don't
Yeah.
think we've talked specifically about that. What does prosperity mean to you? And
Thank you so much for bringing that up. So, prosperity is the freedom to do what you want to do with the money that you have and being grateful for it. Economics is then applying some knowledge, very old traditional knowledge, to the space of money and what to do with it. So the financial planning industry has actually only been around since the 1950s. So what did people do for a couple centuries prior to that, right? There's a quote out of a book that I love. The book is called Pound Foolish, and it's actually about the financial entertainers in our world. I won't mention names, but the quote is, a financial plan used to mean in 1940 a mortgage and a whole life insurance policy. Okay, two basic products, right? That maybe some people know about, maybe they don't. You have a lot of people that rent, you have a lot of people that have never heard of whole life. Nevertheless, a financial plan used to mean a mortgage and a whole life insurance policy. And so, back to my earlier example of the $2 million, prosperity economics, which is a term that I've coined, and thankfully, I have a husband who is a mathematician and a software programmer, and his space is personal finance. And personal financial math is not the same as grade school math, which is why we make mistakes like thinking that the average of the stock market is actually a meaningful number. Nevertheless, when you look at the space of prosperity economics, which is just, again, making all of your money do the job that it's supposed to do, which is provide the peace of mind, enable you to serve, et cetera, you have this arena of longevity and tradition that is centuries old, as opposed to the more typical financial planning, which is only about 75 years old, give or take. So it's prosperity economics is utilizing whole life insurance. It is utilizing mortgages. It is not prepaying mortgages. It is not maxing out 401k plans. It's only matching them out, MATCH. It is not reinvesting dividends and interest and capital gains, which is what most financial people recommend, that you do reinvest those. And there's a whole long list of other things that prosperity economics is that financial planning is not. But I gave you a bit of a taste of it there. And
mhm,
as I know we're just starting to wrap up here, people will ask, okay, what's next? Well, in the show notes, I've given you all a special link with a document that will prove that $2 million difference that I mentioned. For a basic family, just saving basic levels of money, we can make a $2 million difference by enacting that one thing that I started with, which is stop putting your earned income into your checking account and let it in its reservoir continue to grow and pursue opportunities with it. So the white paper has the math behind that $2 million number and proves it.
that is spectacular. Like, I love the way, without any actual work on my part, you brought this whole conversation full circle, just like a pro. So thank you for sharing your knowledge. Thank you for sharing these ideas. I will put that link that you described in the show notes for sure. Is there any place else that you would like people to follow, just to like dabble with what you are working on?
Sure. I'm on all the social platforms. Help yourself. There's free downloads and blogs and videos, and I have over 600 podcasts of my own episodes. So yes, there's some history there and some joy and a lot of giving, and I really welcome people to pursue as much of it as they would like.
Thank you so much, Kim Butler, for talking with me today.
You're welcome.